In this video, we're building an activity table for my little granddaughter, Margaret.
Hello everyone, it's Mike in Peoria, and today we're going to build an activity table for my 1.5-year-old granddaughter, Margaret. What you see here are basically all the parts that it's going to take to make it. I've already cut 4 legs. They're just made from 2x4s glued together with the sides cut off. We're going to taper them, and this is the tapering jig to do that on the table saw. Over here on the right you can see I've got one of the legs stood up and just a few scrap pieces on the side there, kind of illustrating how the apron around the bottom of the table is going to go. My daughter might want to take the table apart easily, so we're going to use these wood threads on one side and machine threads for a wing nut on the other side. We can snug up the legs to the apron when we're done. You can twist off the wing nut and remove the legs when you need to. So we're going to get into this build. The top is going to be 22 by 28, so this piece of scrap maple 3/4 inch plywood will do nicely. We'll need to cut that down. We need to taper the legs. We'll need to edge band the sides so it looks nice and my granddaughter doesn't get slivers in her finger. This is the edge banding that we're going to use. I got a 250-foot roll off of Amazon for 30 bucks. I've used it on the Murphy bed project, and there's plenty left for this and many more projects down the road. The aprons on the side that kind of go around the underside of the frame, I'm going to cut out of this piece of 1x6. I think given how much I need, and they're only going to be about 1.5 to 2 inches wide, I think I can get 4 pieces out of this nicely. It'll have to be cut on the table saw, but that shouldn't be a problem. So with that, let's get started. We're going to cut the tabletop, step 1. Okay, now we're going to set it to 28 inches. There we go, and we will cut it to length. Okay, we're back at the assembly table here now. The top has been cut. I've drawn a 2-inch line all the way around, 2 inches from the edge. And that's where basically I want the outside of the apron to go. Then I drew another line 1.25 inches further in so I can have about 1.5 inches reveal on all of the legs. I did it like this and then set the legs in place so I could accurately figure out the measurements for the apron. And the long bits I need to be 19.25 and the narrow sides 13.5. And I will cut those on the miter saw. Okay, I have 2 pieces of the apron. They're not quite cut to length, but I've got a good square cut on the end. I'm gonna mark them for 13.5 inches. Use a square to make sure that the line is straight across. And then cut both of these pieces at the same time. squaring off the end here so they're both exactly the same length. That'll help ensure that the legs are square. Alrighty, and I'll do the same for the long sides. Table, the boards are in here, they're just dry fit for now. I'm going to put 3 screws pre-drill in countersink, 3 screws on the long side and 2 on each of the short pieces with a little glue to affix the aprons to the top. And when I do that, then it'll look like this. Then after we do that, I'll come back and I'll put in corner pieces like that with a hole in the middle that the leg can then snug up to and screw on. Before we do that, I think probably before anything gets attached, I ought to round over or put a radius on the corner of the tabletop. Okay, I'm using the top of a spray can to use as a guide for rounding over the edges, and we'll just do that. Do that. We're just wanting to take a little, we'll cut the first rounded corner with the saber saw. Okay, simple as that, and I'll do the other 4, or the other 3, I'm sorry, in the same way. Then we'll come back and sand it. Now it's time, I've cut all 4 corners, so now it's time for a little sanding just to smooth them out. I'm going to start the edge banding, and I'm sure there are a lot of guys that are a lot better at this than me that would do the whole tabletop in one go. But I'm going to use 2 pieces and hook them together. So I've got the iron hot. I don't want to seam on any of the corners, so I'm going to start it here well before the corner and overlap it a little on both sides. In fact, I think I'll start on the top here. I try to put quite a bit of pressure on it so as to push the glue out and get it stuck down tight. Some guys come by with a roller or a block of wood later. You know, I've done this several times. Okay, that's one done. Then we'll come back to the other side here. Okay, the next step is going to be to drill holes through the apron pieces, and we're going to go this way. And I'm going to use the drill press just to make sure that they're straight.
Okay, the glue has had plenty of time to cool off and dry on the top now. And you can see here I'm trimming the edges off, and I'm using a very small hand plane to do that. I find it works very well, and there's just actually something soothing about using a hand plane. Okay, here we're getting ready to taper the 4 legs. Each leg has a taper on 2 sides, so it takes 2 passes on the table saw with the tapering jig. Okay, I glued and screwed down the main aprons on the 4 sides already, and I'm just gluing and tacking on the corner pieces at the moment. You can see each one has a fairly large hole in it. That's where that hanger bolt is going to come through. Here I'm screwing in the hanger bolt, and I can tell you I was worried about the leg splitting, so I made sure to drill a good deep hole before I started screwing it in. To do that, I put on 1 1/4-inch nut and then snugged down another one on top of it, and so they made a good tight seal. Now here, to take it off, I'm just undoing the top one, and then once that's off, then or loose, then they can both come off. It's evident with a test fit here that the hole was not perfectly centered where I needed it, so I'm making it a little bigger. And that's okay. On the other side of that, there'll be a washer that the wing nut snugs down to, and it's fine if the hole's a little bigger, so it's not a problem. So that's pretty much it. It was a fun project to build, and I think my granddaughter is going to enjoy coloring and doing crafts. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much.